players smile. But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Big Three NBA podcast. Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. And before we get into all of the last week's drama and lore for the Celtics, I do want to remind you that the CLNS Network is the family company of our podcast. What we do here wouldn't be possible without the great partners like PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Okay, let's get right into it. First off, the Celtics losing their second straight game, 105-103 in that loss to Utah. But we have to talk about the big storyline that comes from that. Jaylen Brown in his post-game press conference really ripping the refs and ripping, but also trying to hold accountable the referees for that no call on a foul late in the game. Gary, we just asked you right before we started about the last 2-minute report. So what did you see in that?
Well, he obviously got fouled. Keontae George tripped in front of him. Jaylen kind of tripped, was trying to go around him and kind of couldn't because he was in his way, and he fell over and lost the ball. The Jazz ended up getting a run out. The Celtics were up by 1 point. If Jaylen gets that foul, like 43 seconds left, if he gets that foul, he gets 2 free throws, so they have a chance to go up 3. Obviously, and now Utah's got to hit a 3 to tie, or if he misses one or whatever, he goes. They have a chance to go ahead, but it was been a Celtics advantage. Instead, the Jazz got a run out and scored and go ahead by 1, and the Celtics kind of lost all control of the game after that. It was a very critical call. The officials apparently kind of stood by in their report last night by our Adam Himmelsbach, who was the pool reporter. They basically stood by their call and said, we didn't see it. And basically he didn't make contact with him. And basically Jaylen Brown fell over him. But the 2-minute report said today that it was a foul. So, I mean, to me, honestly, we can talk about that a lot, and the Celtics got screwed. But that's not why they lost the game. They deserve to lose the game. They missed 43s. They didn't play focused basketball. They let Keontae George look like Allen Iverson in the third quarter. There's a lot of things that they did wrong to lose that game, and they couldn't grab a damn rebound. Neemias Queta had position on Nurkic in the final seconds. Nurkic just reached over him like a son, like Sherrod does to Isaiah when he was younger, not now, because Isaiah dunk on him now. But yeah, Isaiah would go 2 hands, but back in the day, reach over him, grab the ball, and put it back in. And that's why they lost. They didn't rebound. They missed too many damn threes, and they didn't play focused basketball and hard basketball. The Jazz, who had gotten their ass whooped by Charlotte the night before, so they're on a back-to-back, came all the way from North Carolina to Massachusetts and had more energy than Celtics. That's why they lost the game. But that call did cost them, and obviously a chance to go ahead by 3 points in the final minute, and they could have won the game if they had that call.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that game really illustrated a couple things. First and foremost, it illustrated just how small the margin of error is for the Celtics to win. Because if you put the same team that the Celtics had last year, and they're, let's say, in that situation where they missed 43s, they beat this Utah team by like 7. It'd be a close game, but they'd win that game by like 7 to 8 points. But because they missed so many threes, because they got absolutely slaughtered on the glass, they gave themselves little to no margin for error down the stretch. And yes, it was a bad call. And it's an inexplicable call, to be candid with you, because I don't know how you could not make that call. Look, here's the thing. Jaylen, I mean, obviously it was a bad call. They've owned up to it finally. But Gary's right. I mean, the Celtics, they did everything you could possibly do to lose that game. And still yet they were in position to win it if they simply got the calls that, teams in that situation get. But the bottom line is it's a reminder of just how small the margin of error is for the Boston Celtics to win games. And when they don't play the way they're supposed to, this is what's going to happen. You're going to find yourself scratching your head like, how the hell did we lose to that team? And that's exactly what happened. This was a team that they had every reason to believe that they were going to beat based upon it being a back-to-back, based upon the fact that the Celtics, if we're being honest and true about this, they're a better team, but they didn't play like it. And again, it doesn't matter who's better on paper. It's what happens on that parquet. And Utah did what they needed to do, got that dub.
Okay, so let's quickly go through the numbers. Jaylen Brown, 36 points, 4 assists. Peyton Pritchard, 18 points, 5 rebounds. Not a great game for Derrick White. 10 points on 3 for 9 shooting in the 32 minutes that he was there, along with 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 block shots, and 3 steals. So that being said, let's talk about Derrick White, because we talked about, last few weeks that in theory, he's the number 2 guy right now. What is your level of concern with Derrick White? I know it's early, but let's talk about it.
It's early, but my concern is growing by the day with Derrick. And the reason why, because I don't know if he's going to be able to get to where he can be a consistent number 2. Because here's the thing, Derrick White is being asked to do some things that he has not been asked to do before. He's been asked to create more of his shots now than he has done in the past. And when that happens, it forces you to just be a different type of player. And when you look at Derrick White's career trajectory, no one looks at him as a guy who's a shot creator. He can do it, but it's not one of the better parts of his game. And when you look around him, it's not like he's surrounded by a lot of guys that can create shots for him. And so I'm not sure Derrick White is going to, kind of snap out of this. I think he'll be better than what we've seen so far, but I'm not sure he's going to get to that point where you feel comfortable and confident as him as your number 2 guy. Because remember, Derrick White, he can put up the numbers that he has put up recently, and the Celtics will win by 8, win by 10, because there are multiple guys that can make up for what he wasn't getting done. But now, if he's not making buckets, who is besides Jaylen? And that this team is that they're not built to be successful and not have Derrick White elevate his game in almost every statistical category, which is just not happening.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's probably one of the bigger early surprises and / disappointments of the season, is because, he has played so well in the last 2 years. And I think the whole concept was, hey, he'll just step up and he'll be that number 2 guy, and he'll have an opportunity to be, kind of the dude who gets it done on the court in terms of scoring, hitting the 3, playing defense. And he's getting a lot of open looks. He's getting a lot of the shots that he usually hits. He's just not knocking them down. And then you can just see him dip his head after missed shots that you can kind of tell it's in his head. Like, hey, I need to play better, and I'm not playing better. Or you can see when he hits a 3, oh, I finally hit one. Wow. And I think that affects your psyche, mentality, your confidence, your motivation, also maybe your defense, And I just think not having Derrick White, not having a premium Peyton Pritchard is basically the reason why the Celtics are just being, at this point, a below average team. They are not getting the production out of those 2 guys that they expected. And so now it comes to like, well, who's going to step up? Jaylen's already stepped up. And I think we all, we give Jaylen definitely his kudos for being, not last night, 0 for 9 from the 3-point line, not his best effort, not his best day, obviously. But, to me, he's stepped up and done what he's supposed to do, dropping, 30-point games here. He had a 41-point game. So Jaylen, you give him a break on basically, his performance against Utah, because he said, well, hey, it happens. He's not the greatest shooter, so there's going to be times where he essentially has an off night. But when you're looking at Peyton, you're looking at Derrick, you're like, what's going on here? Pritchard is shooting 21.3% from the 3-point line. That is like ghastly. That is not like him. Derrick White, 26.3. So you got your top 2 3-point shooters shooting under 30% and not even close to 30%, right? They have, Peyton's 13 for 61, and Derrick's 20 for 76. So if my math, that's 33 for 137. So they've missed 104 threes this year already in 8 games. That's not good. Anthony Simons has been okay, 37.5. I think he's been exactly what they wanted him to do. You know, he's doing well. Sam Hauser's at 40.7. He had that, he was not good last night, but he had that game where he hit, against Cleveland, where he hit 5 threes to start off. And the rest of the guys, you're not expecting them to shoot well from the three-point line. Jaylen's at 38%. So you take the 0 for 9, he was starting out well, almost 50% before last night. Josh Minot, you're not expecting. He's 27.3. Garza, 4 for 13. Shireman, 5 for 9 in limited action. Boucher hit his first one of the season last night. He's 1 for 10. Like, this team is 31%. They're 29th in the NBA in three-point shooting. And that starts with Peyton and Derrick. So I'm concerned about Derrick because Derrick's one of those guys that he doesn't have that, like, Jordan Crawford kind of confidence where he thinks he's the best player on the floor at all times.
I love you some Jordan Crawford.
Yeah, he doesn't have that. He has, if I'm doing well, I feel good about myself. If I don't, then man, I gotta try. And I just think we're all waiting for him to break out of this slump, and him and Peyton. But the reason why they're 3 and 5 is because their number 2 and 3 guys have not stepped up, and they are killing them. 104 missed threes from those guys in the first 8 games. That's not good. And Peyton had his moments against the Jazz, but he missed some open looks. And that's the thing. It's not even like they're getting contested. Some of these looks are like, oh, I know he's got this one playing right off the rim. Same with Derrick. So I'm concerned about that. And the concern is, let's be real honest here. Can you have this 3-point philosophy where you take 51 with this team that ain't got the shooters it had last year?
Right.
Al, gone. Jason, not there. Kristaps, not there. Drew, not there. So can you really run this same offense and launching threes with guys like Minot, like Garza, who are not traditional 3-point shooters? Or do you have to take the ball to the rim? They're getting killed on the boards. They're getting killed with free throws. And then they're going through these really bad stretches like the third quarter last night where they basically outplayed the Jazz in the first and second quarter, outplayed them in the fourth. You lost the third, you lost the game. And so to me, I just think there's a whole kind of avalanche of things happening with this team. Now, they can get it back. They're okay. There's nobody running away yet in the East. The Knicks are going through their troubles. All these teams, the Bulls, are okay. They were off to the best start. The Pistons, every team in the East has looked bad, right? Not looked so good. But if you're the Celtics, you can't lose at home to Utah. You just can't. Utah lost by 22 points. I was watching part of that game. They were let down, I want to say, by as many as 30 in that game against Charlotte. And Charlotte was playing. It was no Melo. Melo did not play. No Grant Williams, no Melo, no Brandon Miller. And they whooped Utah. So you're thinking, and I know the Celtics, oh, well, they're tired. They're going to come in here and lay down. And they didn't lay down in the second half. So that's the Celtics not playing as hard. And that's unacceptable.
It is. And the thing, Gary, that, as we're talking about this, and I know a lot of Celtics fans are thinking about this, even if they don't want to acknowledge it. But when you look at where the Celtics team is and you look at where they're expected to finish, and then you look around the corner and you see how deep this upcoming NBA draft is going to be. At some point, and you know what's coming, Gary, at some point, folks are going to be looking like, why don't they just develop these young boys, let Jaylen Brown rest his body so that next season he can come in, revive, refresh. You got Jason Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown, you get a top 5, top 10 pick, and now all of a sudden your window of greatness has expanded exponentially because you got a difference maker, a guy that is probably, if you don't draft him, he'd be the face of the franchise for another team, and now he's like your number 3 guy, which would then allow Derrick White to slide down and be that number 4 guy or the number 3 until the new guy gets up and running. I'm curious, Gary, are you ready to start thinking about that?
I think
You thinking about it? That's because Gary went in that Socrates like,
I think honestly, if I'm not saying tank, I don't think you should tank. I think you got too much talent.
Yeah.
But the NCAA season started last night, okay, and you had a bunch of guys who were like that top 10 is going to be loaded with talent.
stacked.
And then you look at what Philadelphia did, and now they got VJ Edgecombe, right? They got a dude who immediately is playing, right? Who is like not only, he's going to be somebody, but now he's a starter. He's going to be the starter there for the next 10, 12 years. Mm-hmm. So I do think maybe, I'm not saying think about tanking, but you got to think about positioning yourselves, and you got to think about realistic with this team. Do you want to just be in the play-in? You want to win 42 games and then get a 17th pick? Is the draft that deep where at the 17th pick you can get a really good player? Who knows? We got to watch the NCAAs this year. We got to be a close observer of teams like Kansas and BYU and Texas Tech and some of these new guys that are playing. The kid from Arizona, dudes who are just ready for the league, but they got to play the college year first. And I don't think it's 8 games in. The season is 10% over, folks. So relax. Right. But I think you've got to think about the long-term future. Do you need another body in here? Do you need another stud on this team that ain't making no money because he's on a rookie contract? That's enticing. You got Ugo Gonzalez. He's a guy, I don't know if he's a stud. He's going to be a guy. He's going to be a guy who's going to help them down the road. I think, Minot's a guy you're going to hold on to, but you got to look at the rest of the roster. Are your two-way guys going to help you eventually down the road? Maybe. Amari Williams, Ron Harper, we don't know. Jordan Walsh, I think he could probably
say it, Gary. Say it.
Yeah, he's probably, he's going to be on that J.D. Davidson train out of Boston probably eventually.
TRC, Passport Ready crew.
Yeah, hasn't worked out for him here in Boston, and he's not getting the minutes. He's gotten his minutes taken by Ugo and Minot. I don't think you think about tanking, but you definitely, and I'm sure the management, their people are looking at the draft and going, okay, how could we score on this? How could we get into the mid first round, high first round, and maybe get a pick? How do we replenish our talent pool? And obviously teams are not going to be giving up. You look at Washington, you look at Brooklyn, Indiana's probably going to be tanking, they're going to play hard, but teams are looking very much toward that draft, New Orleans, and saying, yeah, we want in on that, right? Brooklyn's starting a 19-year-old point guard. You think they're really trying to win? They're just starting a kid. Brooklyn is just like, they done already thrown in the towel pretty much. So Washington and another team to look out for, and they come tomorrow. They're 1-6. They're playing hard. So the Celtics can't please don't overlook the Wizards Celtics. I would think you wouldn't overlook 2 teams that you're better than, but they're going to be a team that's going to, look out. They got salary cap space, and they're going to try to get a top 5 pick. So it's something to consider. I know it's hard for the Celtics faithful to swallow a tough season, but I don't think you got too many quality players to do that. But if things don't work out, if injuries take place, if this team is just looking like, man, they just couldn't get together by mid-season, I think you probably think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that if they continue to just be a sub-500 team, at some point they're going to pull the plug and just say, look, we're going to play the young guys. Jordan Walsh all of a sudden start playing 30, 35 minutes a night. And again, you're looking to either one, have these young guys show you something that maybe you didn't see when they weren't getting many minutes, or 2, struggle. You realize they're not part of the future, but them not playing well positions you to benefit in the future by having a higher draft pick. So I think it's something that it's worth keeping an eye on, but I think the Celtics are far to have too much season left to be played to just really embrace the whole, idea of tanking. But I do believe if they continue to be a sub 500 team, certainly I think at the latest, I would say is the All-Star break, that they'll seriously be looking at starting to play these young guys. Because at that point, there's really no benefit in you making the second half of the season surge just to be the 4th, 5th, 6th seed. It's not going to do you. You ain't gonna win no champ unless you know that Tatum is definitely going to be able to come back. And if you know he's going to be able to come back significantly earlier than expected, then you might think about trying to put your best foot forward and just trying to position yourself as best you can for the playoffs. But short of that, if you're sub 500, just shut it down. Get the PRC crew, the passport ready crew, them guys to the end of the bench, get them out there on the floor and show what they can do.
Well, yeah, Sherrod, I'll say this though, Sherrod. The issue here is the East, right? Yeah. And the East there's nobody gonna run away with the East. I mean, right now. The East looks like a conference that, Philadelphia and Chicago are both 5-1, their first place. The Knicks and Cavs are both off to 4-3 starts. Whoop-de-doo. There's nobody. Yeah, whoop-de-doo, right?
There's no clear leader.
No. Atlanta, I mean, we talked all about Atlanta. They're 3-4. Orlando, they're 3-4. The Celtics are 3-5. They're 3 games back from first place. So we can't look at the East and be like, well, they're going to get smoked. Who's going to smoke them? Like, name a team that you like. They already beat Cleveland, right? They could have beat the Knicks. They already beat Philadelphia. So they've beaten the number one. They beat the team that's top, and they play them again in a week. They might have a chance to do it again. The only teams that you're looking in the East that are like, okay, it's time to prepare for 27 is Indiana, Brooklyn, and Washington. The rest of the teams, Charlotte, they're going to probably slip. Toronto, they're 3-4. Miami, 4-3. Like, it's a bunch of average teams. This is not the Western Conference. So to say that the Celtics should tank, they're going to, like, the players going to be looking like, we 4 games back. How you going to
Yeah.
Like, what you talking about, coach?
We can't tank.
We can't do it. We trying. We can't tank. We all bad.
We all in the tank together.
Did you see how bad Charlotte is? We can't tank.
No. We can try to win that game. Sure, we won. I'm sorry. Like, so
we just did threes, knew we only gonna make 10, and we still won by 6.
So yes. So I don't know if tanking's possible because the East is so damn mad average and exactly what we saw. We thought it would be pretty much. I mean, you look at the West. Oklahoma City 7-0, San Antonio 5-1, Lakers 6-2. Like, even now the only team in the West that you're like, okay, they're packing for 27 probably is New Orleans. They're 0-6. Mm-hmm. Dallas is 2-5. They're going to get better. Memphis got problems. We all seen what's going on in Memphis. But even Utah 3-4. Utah's 4 games out of the top spot. So it's too early. But in the East, this team can be the 5th seed pretty damn easily because I don't trust any of these damn teams in the East. You trust Chicago? No. I don't trust Chicago. You trust Philly? And we'll see. Detroit, they're 5-2. They're playing well. Yeah. Detroit, I think Miami's better because they're going to get back Tyler Hero. Miami's better, I think, than people thought. The Knicks still have problems. They can't. The Knicks are 4-0 at home, 0-3 on the road. That's not the sign of a good team when you can't win on the damn road. Right. The Celtics got 2 road wins. So we got to talk there's a lot of things we have before we talk about tanking, Sherrod. I know you watched, like me, you watched all the college hoop highlights last night.
And I'm thinking like,
damn. Oh, Lord. My goodness. Damn.
Loser boys can ball, y'all.
Damn, man, what the hell's going on? These dudes are pro. These dudes are grown men out here.
They can average 17-7 right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Sherrod got excited watching the college ball last night. But I don't think right now that's going to happen.
Well, this all leads to the bigger conversation then, which it comes down to the Celtics effort. What exactly does that look like? Which we'll talk about in just a second. But before we do, I do want to remind you that the Big 3 NBA podcast is part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you'll find our podcast, past and present, as well as a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. Sherrod?
Yep. And for those listening, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. It's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash with millions of members. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win cash. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Jalen Hurts passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in just one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. How do you get in? It's real simple. You just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
It is. All right, we talk about they shouldn't take. It's too early in the season, and the East is way too open for the Celtics to be tanking. But effort is really important if you're not going to tank and you want to have as successful as a season as you can. And Joe Mazzulla raised it as a concern versus Utah. Execution and effort is something that he's been emphasizing for this team. But what's next when it comes to this team if he's not seeing that as the head coach? And why is it such a big issue right now?
Go ahead, Gary. Talk about your boy Joe.
Why always got to be me?
Right.
Gotta be me.
That's your boy.
Anyway, to me, Kwani. Anyway, I think this is going to be one of them. I think this team still has a championship pedigree and still has championship DNA, but they also, which is good in some ways, not so good. So I think they looked last night and thought this team, Utah, got whooped by Charlotte. They're on a back-to-back. We feel good about ourselves. We beat Philadelphia. That's what they're saying. We beat Philadelphia. We beat New Orleans. We beat Cleveland. We won 3 in a row. And before the Houston game, and that was kind of a schedule loss, back-to-back. They just got their butts whipped. They were tired. Now we're refreshed. Now we're ready to go. We just going to, take care of business. 10.5-point favorites, and ended up basically getting outplayed in the second half. Utah, you could see the confidence brewing and increasing and soaring throughout that game. You could see the Jazz going, damn, we didn't think we could win this game, but damn, we can win this game. Okay, let's do this. Will Hardy making moves, out coaching his friend Mazzulla, going to a super big lineup with 3 7-footers in there with Markkanen and Nurkic, so they grabbed in there every rebound. Keontae George, they couldn't guard him off the dribble. So to me, it was like the Celtics took them for granted. They thought we're up 10. There's no way this team is good enough to catch us like this. We're going to hit some threes. And I just think they thought we're going to hit threes. Eventually, we're going to pull away and win. The threes never fell. The offense sputtered. The defense started slipping. And then they didn't chase some to the loose balls. They got outplayed. There was one play that I wrote in my story. Nemius in the fourth quarter, Nemius grabbed a rebound. Walter Clayton Jr., the little point guard who out of Florida who just won a national championship, literally reached in and grabbed the ball out of Nemi's hands. And instead of the Celtics getting a possession, I think Filipowski got the ball, then got fouled, and he split the free throws. But that cost him a possession and cost him a point where Nemi didn't hold on to the ball. Stuff like concentration stuff. Playing with a fierceness, playing with an edge. That didn't happen. And that's on, quite honestly, the Celtics. And in as much as I understand, fatigue and the other team playing well, this is Utah Jazz here, right? Utah is, we don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're not as talented, right? They got Markkanen, who did not have a great game, but hit some shots when it counted. George, who had a great game, and Yusuf Nurkic, who's just there to kind of fill the spot because, I'm sure he's looking to try to win somewhere else. He's just a journeyman. And you're letting those dudes ball you up. You're letting the kid, number 16, out-hustle you. He got the offensive foul on Jaylen with 0.6 seconds left. Like, they played harder, and you don't have the talent, the Celtics don't have the talent not to be the harder playing team every night. That's unacceptable. It's game 8. What are you doing? How are you not playing hard? You tired? You had the day off before. You're at home. You ain't come back from a West Coast trip. Why are you not playing hard? Because they took their opponent for granted. That's unacceptable. And all the guys who said they played harder than us, why is the team play harder than you in game 8? Because they wanted the dub more than you did. They felt like embarrassed after getting blown out by Charlotte. Any team would. You're not supposed to get blown out like that by Charlotte without LaMelo and without Brandon Miller. A bunch of just their kids out there, Kneppel and all those guys who were just rookie Sion James, like a bunch of kids balling you up. That was embarrassing for them. And they played a terrible first half and came back and played a better second half, and the Celtics didn't match their intensity. That's on the Celtics. That's coaching, that's focus, that's lack of veteran leadership. So they got to get it together. We need to see. We'll see how they come out against Washington. We'll see how they come out on. Now they go to Orlando for 2 games, and then Philly. Like, the scheduling don't get no easier. We'll see how this team comes out because, as we've seen, they can look real bad. And if they don't play their best, they can look real bad.
The core of this team has spent, the majority of their careers, hell, I goes even further to say all of their career for, a couple of them, kind of in the basketball penthouse of the NBA. Well, they've had to downgrade a little bit. They no longer living in Rodeo Drive, or they're no longer living in the Wall Street of the NBA. They living in the burbs. They living in not quite the hood, but they're living in the suburbs. Exactly. They're not nearly as all that and then some as they used to be. And I think part of their problem in Utah is they forgot where they're at and who they are, as opposed to who they used to be. And because who they used to be could have played like that and won by 7. Who they used to be could, get out rebounded, get crushed on the glass, and still have basically a 4 or 5 minute stretch of great basketball and win going away. We saw it happen all the time last year, in the year before that. They don't have that luxury anymore because they don't have that talent. And I think every now and then they forget who they are. They forget who they are and remember who they used to be. And that's where they get in trouble. They have to be the harder playing team to win. They're not good enough to win on talent alone because they don't have the kind of talent that they have been able to win on talent alone. And some days they're going to get that head crack because they forget that very important point. The Utah game, to me, it was just playing Russian roulette basketball-wise because they were doing enough things where they really were killing themselves, but they weren't quite dead yet until that, the call against Jaylen, and that led to them getting into that changed everything because obviously if Jaylen gets fouled on that, gets the call, even if he makes 1 or 2 free throws, and let's say Utah comes down and they tie it up, Celtics get a last shot, most likely, game goes to overtime, worst case scenario. But that's not how it worked. And again, they may want to point to that one bad call as the reason why, but it's clear one bad play, no matter how bad the call is not going to determine whether you win or lose the game. It's all the mistakes you made in the previous 46, 47 minutes of the game that cost you the game. And they got to remember who they are. They are a suburb team. They're blue collar. They got to grind. They're not living on the. Listen, they're not living on the top floor no more. They are not that team, and there's nothing they're going to be able to do about that this year. And so the sooner they start realizing that they have to outwork teams every single night, no matter how bad that team is, no matter what the circumstances are for which that team is coming into their building, until they embrace that, they're going to have these. They're going to have probably 3, 4, 5 more games like this where they lose to a team, not because that team played a great game, but because they didn't give that team the proper respect going into the game, and that team made them pay for that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That being said, what do they do to improve it, Sherrod?
I think the biggest thing that they got to do in order to just start making strides towards being more consistent when it comes to effort is just recognizing and respecting their opponent. I mean, you got to. This is the thing about like when you win a championship and you got that penthouse mentality. You gotta look at every opponent that we gotta crush them fools. We gotta absolutely annihilate them. And you ain't got the talent to do that, but your mindset should tell you you can do that. Because if you playing with that kind of mindset and you're outworking teams, you're going to win a lot of games. You're going to win a ton of games if you feel that you are the better team and you're going to destroy that team, and you're going to destroy them because you're going to outwork them. And I don't think they've embraced that as much as they should, that the only way they're going to win is to outwork teams. So to me, the biggest shift they got to make is a mental one. I don't think it's an X's and O's thing. I think just mentally they've got to be a little bit tougher, a little bit more grimier, and get Derrick White out of his head. I mean, I think back to Derrick on the podium.
And that's when he started. When he started, he was in his head when he first came to the Celtics.
Yeah. But I just look at, sad Derrick White was what we saw after that Utah game. I mean, he had the hoodie on, had the hand over his face. I mean, Derrick White is one of those guys that doesn't really show a lot of emotion when he plays. But in that post-game presser, it was clear that this particular game bothered him a little bit more than others. And I think for him, the reality that many of us have seen, and he probably has seen but didn't want to address, he's not playing well. And it's not like it's not a health thing, it's not a scheme thing, it's not X's and O's. It's literally him not playing with the mental toughness that I know he has in him. He has to be a tougher player mentally to get over this hump and get back to playing the basketball that we've seen him play. And yes, he's in a different role, but you know what? They're paying you enough money where you should be comfortable in whatever role they ask you to play. You're not making fourth option money. You're making second and third option money. So you need to start playing like it.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Gary?
You're muted.
Muted.
You're still muted.
There we go.
Thank you, Forrest and Bubba.
You're the one moving your lips and nothing. We're trying to help you. We're trying to help you,
by the way.
You're still muted. You're still muted. Damn. Anyway, and I know Kwani don't get that reference either.
You're joking.
You saw Forrest Gump?
Why would I not have seen Forrest Gump? Barbecue shrimp, fried shrimp, grilled shrimp.
Okay, that's nice.
Don't do that to me.
That's 1994. That's back in the day.
Wow.
Anyway,
Kwani, he did you dead dirty on that one, Kwani.
Right. There was a bubblegum shrimp restaurant in New York City.
I've been there. There's one in New York. I've been there.
Oh boy. Anyway, Forrest and Bubba.
Which one of us was Forrest, by the way? And which one?
Look, y'all figure it out. Which one's Bubba? Who want to be Bubba? Well, if you Bubba, your mama got rich off the shrimp company.
That's true. You got money,
but you died in the war, so y'all pick one.
You gotta pick one.
Yeah, who wants to be Bubba? Who wants to be Forrest? Anyway, yeah, I mean, Sherrod's right. I mean, they just gotta focus. They gotta play hard every night, and I think they got guys that play hard. And I'm not saying they're not playing hard, but like you said, Derrick White, Peyton is, I think he's kind of at this point, like WTF, like what's going on?
Yeah.
And then they're getting guys like, how do I put this? Like, it just seems like they need another guy in there. Like Sam Hauser, if he's not hitting threes, it's not really worth playing him. Keita is trying, but just you can see the limitations, right? You can see him. He got dominated by Duran in Detroit. He comes back against New Orleans, has a solid game. He has a solid game against Cleveland and Mobley, but then last night, just against the bigs, the Nurkic is a crafty dude, right? But even Kevin Love came off the bench and had like 8 boards. Like it just seems like they need somebody to really else besides Jaylen to really just step up. If it's Derrick and Peyton, then I think that's great. That's what you're looking for. That's what you need. However, if it's not, it's got to be somebody else. Minot's not going to be like, he's 23 years old. Like, I'm not depending on Minot to turn around and give you, 15 and 10 every night. There's going to be nights he has 6 and 4. There's going to be nights where he does have 15 and 10, right? But he's a kid. He's just, Garza. I think we see kind of the limitations. He fouls a lot. He's got that. He's taking threes. I don't know if that's the best method of him. The same with Xavier Tillman. He's going to have good stretches, and he's going to have not so good stretches. So to me, they need everybody to step up. Besides, they need everybody to play better, to be that team they want to be. If they want to be the 45, 48 win team, which who knows, that's asking a lot. If they want to be a team that competes hard every night, they've got to have guys step up and just play better. And you cannot miss 40. You can't miss 43s. Simons is a guy, he's good at scoring. I think he's trying, but maybe do you think about starting him over Pritchard and bring Pritchard back to his original kind of bench role? I don't know. Do you put more responsibility in Simons' hands? He kind of fit in with everybody else on Monday where he was just missing shots. He missed a couple of open shots. He missed a couple of bunnies. To me, we'll see what happens against Washington. This could be a game you just flush away and you say, you know what? That was just a mulligan. We got our butts kicked. That's what happens. Everybody in the league has that one of those nights. Sherrod, we've been seeing the best of teams just not have it, right? We've seen around the league this year teams besides basically Oklahoma City, everybody gets blown out or just toasted, and you just move on. But I think they need to take something from that Monday game, a little bit of anger, a little bit of desire, a little bit of want to, and take it to the Washington game and take it out on the Wizards, because the Wizards aren't going to come in here and lay down. They're a bunch of youngsters. They're going to play hard. They might not play well, and then their coach, Brian Keefe, is from Winchester. He's coming home playing, coaching in front of his folks and stuff. He's not going to just turn around and let his team lose by 40. So, to me, tomorrow, Wednesday, a big game for this franchise, a big game to show, because now you get Orlando back-to-back. You try to get one of those in Philadelphia again on the road, and the schedule don't get no easier. So they need to get tomorrow just for the confidence.
100% agree. Okay, that being said, as we look at the season, but also in honor of daylight savings, and we all fell back an hour on Sunday, what is the one thing you would like to see the Celtics team fall back and do better at this season?
What you thinking, Gary?
Shoot 3-pointers. Like, shoot better. Put the ball in the basket. Like, if you're going to take all them damn threes, hit all them damn threes.
Okay, John Wooden.
Yeah, put the ball in the basket. Yeah, James Naismith, the peach basket. You want to do that?
Fundamentals.
Yes. Put the ball in the hoop. If you're going to take all them damn long-range shots, hit some. I'd like to see Derrick shoot like Derrick, Peyton shoot like Peyton, Sam shoot like Sam. If not, take the ball to the rim. Hit shots. Be a better offensive team, because they're one of the worst offensive teams in the league. Their defense ain't been the problem. They allowed 105 points. The only time they really let go of the rope was against Houston. Houston hit a bunch of threes. I mean, Tari Eason, Josh Okogie was all hitting corner three. It was like, yeah, they on tonight. Okay, you just tip your cap. But they allowed 105 points. So the defense ain't been the problem. It's been the offense and the rebounding. Hit shots. That's it.
Well, You're right about the shooting, but I want to focus on the rebounding only because the rebounding was something that they actually did a pretty damn good job with last year, and they never got enough credit for. They were like 10th or 11th in the league in rebounding percentage, which I think is more telling than actual rebounds, because rebounding percentage means you're getting a high percentage of the shots that are misses. So they were like top 10, top 11 last year. They're like bottom 5 this year. And so if they can find a little, and when you think about their losses this year, you think about the last game against Utah, you think about that Detroit game, and Houston, that just got out of hand anyway. But if they were a little bit more competitive, they're 3-5, they could easily be 5-3, maybe even 6-2 at this point. If they were closer to being the team that they were a year ago rebounding than they are now. But when you look at just where this team has been decimated the most from last year to now, we all knew that was going to be in the front court. When you lose a guy like Al Horford, you lose a guy like Porzingis, you lose a guy like Luke Cornett, you're going to have significant challenges on the glass, particularly when you don't replace them with players of comparable talent and skill set. So we knew there would be a drop-off. I did not anticipate the drop-off would be this bad. I thought that they would be somewhere more middle of the pack or maybe, top 2/3. But, I mean, they're bottom 5. And looking like they ain't going to get much better in that area. And so for me, if there was anything that they could take from last year, if they could go back in time and bring that to the 25-26 season, it would be to become a better rebounding team, similar to what they did last year, or maybe not quite as far a drop from where they were last year to where they are right now.
Okay, so that being said, on the positive end of the spectrum, what is the one thing that the Celtics team is doing right now that feels as though it's coming at the right time, if there is anything?
I think the one thing they're doing that I like is just player development. I don't think that they've done a good job at developing multiple players before. Usually it's like one guy here, and that's pretty much it. But when I look at what they're doing with Ugo, I look at what they're doing with Minot, who's still a young guy. I look at what they're doing with Sherrod, just figuring out how to get him on the floor. They've got multiple guys that are contributing with some semblance of consistency. And let's not forget about Keita, who's also a young guy.
Yeah.
This is going to pay dividends for them down the road because they're going to get a clear assessment as to who can help them and who can't. And that's huge for this franchise going forward. So I like the fact that we're seeing legitimate player development that goes above and beyond the G League.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Sherrod. I like the way that they've integrated their new players with Minot, with Ugo Gonzalez, with Simons, with Garza. Like, you can see them helping. Like, I don't think that they made. I think what I'm wondering about is Chris Boucher. I don't know what he did. Like, he played, I thought, pretty good in the preseason, and I know he got some minutes early. Then suddenly he got kind of taken out of the rotation, and now they kind of put him in Monday for a spark. But I don't know what's going on with Boucher. I think he can help them. But he's the only one that I look at and be like, okay, that hasn't quite worked out to what they expected. But the rest of the guys, I think we're all pleasantly surprised with Ugo Gonzalez. Minot's been the most pleasant surprise. One of the top 10 like surprises in the league in terms of players who have just had breakout seasons. There's Ryan Rollins in Milwaukee and AJ Mitchell in Oklahoma City, guys that you were like Jake LaRavia in LA, like you're like, who he played for, like Barkley. And then now, you're trying to look at him, get him on your fantasy team, right? So I do agree with the player development aspect of it. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They just don't have enough guns. They just don't have enough front court. They just don't have enough of overall talent. Now you can ask, well, they should have gotten a center, or do they go after a guy who's on the street, guy like James Wiseman, former number 2 overall pick, who's bounced around. He's definitely been a disappointment. Just got waived by Indiana. He's out there coming off an Achilles tear. Do you bring just another fresh body into the fray and let them compete and let's see what he can do? Do you want to do that, or does that do something to Keita's confidence? Like, we don't know. Maybe that happens down the road. Wiseman's still unsigned, so it's not like the whole league's going after him. But I think the development has been good, but we all know that this team is devoid in talent, and it's not going to get much better unless guys start playing better. It's going to have to be somebody in that locker room. Like Jason Tatum right now ain't walking through that door. So it's going to have to be, and Jalen's done what he's supposed to be doing. Yeah. He's played like a number one guy. It has been Peyton Pritchard and Derrick White, and even at times Sam Hauser, who's had his stretches, but also has had his bad stretches, who haven't. And Keita, we all know, you knew with Keita that it wasn't going to be peaches and cream with him. He wasn't going to be Shaq. He wasn't going to be Hakeem. He was not. There's going to be times where he plays well and times where he doesn't. But the development, the players who have developed, I like the development that they're doing, and I think they'll get even better as the season progresses. Ugo's going to get much better. Minot's going to get much better, and we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. And like we said, it's only 8 games in the season, so I understand the frustration of fans, but we'll see how the season progresses. And that's why we exist, the Big 3 NBA podcast. Before we go, I want to remind you to listen to the show, subscribe, like the podcast, leave a review, have some conversation below. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you'll be able to find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content that will keep you occupied the entire season. And a reminder, make sure you turn on those notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. That does it for this week's edition of the Big 3 NBA podcast. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. Keep hope alive, people. We'll be back next week.
Did she just say keep hope alive?
Yes, I did.
Damn, okay, Jesse.
Damn, run, Forrest, run. Run, Forrest, run.
I'm trying to be positive.